Every day your brain picks one action out of thousands. This tutorial asks a hard question. What algorithm does that choice? Today we unpack the neuroscience and the math of human motivation. The roadmap is clear. We start with folk psychology and economics, then move into reinforcement learning, then neuron-level evidence, and finally open research questions. Folk psychology says actions come from beliefs and desires. Neoclassical economics formalizes this as expected utility. In symbols, pick action that maximizes expected utility. Sum over outcomes O of probability of O given a times utility of O. Classical expected utility is elegant, but behavior violates its axioms. Alley-type paradoxes and reference effects show that human choice is not perfectly stable across contexts. So the model is useful, but incomplete. Behaviorism contributed reinforcement learning. An agent uses a policy, a reward function, a value function, and sometimes a world model. Central tradeoff is explore versus exploit. Here is the temporal difference update that appears in the tutorial. V of S is updated by alpha times the prediction error, V of S prime minus V of S. This delta term is the computational bridge to dopamine reward prediction errors. The tutorial makes a subtle point. If you have many trials, reinforcement learning can estimate values empirically. If you have one shot, you need model-based expected utility reasoning. Now we go from theory to neurons. Schultz-style experiments show dopamine cells encode reward prediction error, not raw reward magnitude. Unexpected reward spikes firing, predicted reward shifts spikes to Q, omitted reward suppresses firing below baseline. How does the brain implement TD-like updates in wet tissue? Hebbian plasticity says coactive cells strengthen together. The three-factor rule adds dopamine as a gating signal, so plasticity tracks both coactivity and reward prediction error. A surprising claim follows. Preparatory activity in action circuits behaves like expected utility encoding. Before the go cue, competing action channels carry graded activity. After evidence resolves, one channel ramps toward movement threshold. In random dot motion tasks, coherence controls evidence quality. Higher coherence produces steeper drift in firing rates toward the selected action channel. So the brain appears to run an online update, continuously revising expected utility as sensory evidence arrives. Choice termination looks like argmax plus threshold crossing. Multiple channels compete, inhibition suppresses losers, and action executes when the winning channel crosses a criterion. Economically, this criterion is analogous to a reservation price. Random utility models become biologically plausible once we remember neurons are noisy. A firing rate is a distribution around a mean, not a deterministic scalar. So near-indifference choices should be probabilistic, and that is exactly what behavior shows. Temporal discounting appears in both behavior and neurons. As delay increases, subjective value and corresponding firing rates decline. Formally, utility is discounted by a delay function, often modeled as exponential or hyperbolic decay. Another key distinction is relative versus absolute utility coding. Choice circuits often represent values relative to the current choice set. But transitivity across changing sets implies somewhere the brain must maintain a more absolute scale. Normalization is a central computational motif. Channel response is scaled by pooled neighboring activity, so coding becomes context-sensitive and efficient. This predicts stronger error rates as the choice set grows. The JAM study illustrates this quantitatively. With 6 options, purchase was around 30%. With 24 options, around 3%. This aligns with normalization, plus stochastic competition in bounded neural systems. Do these circuits only choose actions, or can they choose abstract options too? Color-coded reward experiments show similar competitive dynamics even when options are identity-based rather than motor-based. So valuation and action selection can be linked but distinct stages. The tutorial summarizes the primate choice mechanism in 5 claims. Inputs encode normalized stochastic expected utility, error grows with menu size, and final action is winner-take-all with thresholding. This is a compact computational architecture for bounded rational choice. Marginal utility depends on internal state, like thirst or glucose. Reference-dependent theories go further. Value is computed relative to expectation or status quo, not absolute wealth. This improves fit to behavior, but violates classical rationality axioms. The major takeaway is that some irrationality may be structural, not accidental. Reference coding is metabolically efficient and robust for natural environments. The price is context-sensitive inconsistency in revealed preference. Where are utilities represented? The post highlights ventral striatum and medial prefrontal cortex, with orbitofrontal and cingulate systems also implicated. The practical model is distributed valuation, feeding a competitive action selection bottleneck. The summary section makes a strong mathematical claim. Utility can be represented as firing rate variables that predict choice stochastically. In that sense, utility is not just an abstract preference ordering, but an empirical neural quantity. The biggest open problems are still foundational. Where is utility stored? How are beliefs represented neurally? What sets decision time? And how do state variables reshape utility functions in real time? These are algorithmic-level questions with direct biological constraints. For deeper methods, we also consulted cited papers used by this tutorial. Schultz, Dayan, and Montague formalized reward prediction error in dopamine systems. Gold and Shadlin reviewed neural decision dynamics and evidence accumulation. So the final picture is this. Human motivation is neither pure rational utility maximization nor blind habit. It is a layered control system: stochastic valuation, prediction error learning, normalized competition, and thresholded action. If we want better psychology, economics, or aligned AI, this mechanistic bridge is where serious progress starts.